panel of employees from the labour market. So please provide a very, very warm welcome to Laurie Winford-Jones, who is Director of Planning and Development for the National Centre of Learning Welsh. Welcome, Laurie. Also welcome Gwawr Taylor. Gwawr is University Secretary and Director of Welsh Language at Aberystwyth University. And Joseph Smith, Strategic Resourcing Manager at Natural Resources Wales. Let's give a warm welcome to all three of our panellists. Thank you very much to all three of you, and I saw you listening intently and making notes, just like all of us. Why don't we start with the practicalities once again? I think that's what's interesting, is that we've got employers joining us today who've had to come to understand the process or have decided to learn about the process of the challenges and positive elements with the CEFR. We are going to start positively once again. So, Joseph and Gwawr, why don't I start with you? We'll pass the microphone on. Can you give us some sort of explanation in terms of what becoming a part of this process has meant for Natural Resources Wales, the early differences that it's made for you as an organisation? Thank you very much. We started using the CEFR framework back in March, and there were two specific reasons for this. We were reviewing our recruitment processes, and under the Welsh Education Act in 2025, we decided to look at that, and we decided to look at the CEFR framework. So we have developed statements for describing the CEFR levels. So we've turned and made the narrative much more positive for applicants to enable them to assess their language level while they're deciding to go for the role or not. And as we've started using the CEFR framework, and as it's becoming more familiar for people, we are hoping that applicants will be able to understand and will become more familiar with their own language skills and ability. Again, it makes it clearer what linguistic skills are needed for roles being advertised, because there is a bit of kind of a reality check for some people. Some roles are advertised as C2, and lots of people I know who are completely fluent in Welsh would never apply for that role. They would never feel that they would be proficient enough for a C2 job. And in one way, it kind of simplifies the process for applicants. They can see, this is where I am now, this is where the job is asking for in terms of advertisement. So in terms of training or learning the language to a higher level, there's then a framework in the background to enable them to start those courses. And you've done all of that since March. We've been very busy, yeah. Well, then, same question to you. Your organisation is a little different. I'm sure that the challenge is different for every workforce, but how have you gone about it, and what have you learned? Well, to be honest, Aberystwyth University has been working with the CEFR for about 9 years, so it's not that new to us, really. It was a decision, I think, that was made when we were establishing a new recruitment system. The Welsh language standards were, of course, coming into play at that time. So, in a way, we grabbed the opportunity to look at the opportunities in changing. So they've implemented the CEFR in Aberystwyth since about 9 years. We use it in two ways. In the first instance, while recruiting, and then we track linguistic levels then of the workforce throughout the process. There are challenges. I think that when we're talking about recruitment, we've been looking at self-assessment, for example. That's something we've looked at recently, and it has been brought up today. We know that people For example, just like you said, Joe, C2, they would say, no, I'm not fluent, whereas I would speak to them and say, of course you are. So it's a matter of getting the right panel in place as well, which is also true of any skills we're trying to test or assess. So it's nothing different to assessing Welsh language skills, but there's definitely a lack of confidence in that sense. What we've been trying to do over the past couple of months is to try to develop general principles for line managers, because there are challenges as well in terms of Welsh services requirements. So what tends to happen is managers look at the roles, they look at the requirements, and they come to a decision and say, okay, well, this is the level of the skill that's needed. That is then tested with the Welsh language services. We're in a difficult financial period. We're looking at more efficient ways of working. So trying to develop general principles and so that managers will look at, okay, well, this is a reception job. We know what the requirements and the standards are with the receptions. So this is level B2 or what have you. So trying to provide a bit of guidance then for our staff. That's the type of thing we've been trying to do. What is useful as well in terms of recording Welsh language skills is that we've got data, we've got true data. So it's not just fluent or not fluent. That's quite vague, isn't it, in many different ways. So what we can do then is analyse via development. We can look at the entire team. So not just individuals. We can look at the team. We can say, okay, there's great oracy skills here, but there's a huge gap in written skills. So we try to look at it in a more holistic way. Does that mean that nothing is changing for you? That the staff are very familiar with the process, even if they come to a new university and they can see B2 or C1? Does that mean that, that it'll be simple for you? That would be nice, wouldn't it? No, I don't think so. I use myself as an example. So I wasn't there when CEFR was implemented. I've been in Cardiff in Aberystwyth University for 2 to 3 years now. So people say, oh, what do you think? Is that B2? And I would go, oh yeah, that sounds like B2. But I had no clue. So there was definitely an element of, new staff join the university all the time. With 2,000 workforce, they're not going to stay with us forever. So there's an element of training. There's an element of it. The code might be different. We'll have to adapt. For example, we've got A0, which is beyond the levels that we've got, which is less than A1. But what we've put as part of the skills is A0, but understanding the university's commitments to bilingualism. That might change depending on the national guidelines. So things change all the time, I would say. But there's definitely an element of training that happens consistently. The only thing I would say about that is to make sure that there's links and contacts when managers come to fill in the forms, that there's a link on it that can define exactly what the levels are so that it's clear. And then when staff are filling in their forms and noting their Welsh language skills, it's clear there as well. So it becomes more naturally and people do become more familiar with it. And then someone says, yep, that sounds like B1. What must provide confidence for employers, Laurie, is that there's a framework, or that there are people who understand the development of the framework and that they can turn to the Centre for Learning Welsh for support. So for anybody who's here, I'm sure it's happened a lot throughout the day, but for anybody here who is a little nervous and is unsure how that might happen, what support is going to be available from you? What's the answer? Well, our work at the centre, of course, is to make everything as simple, as easy as we can for employers and educators. We don't want this to be a difficult process. It doesn't need to be a difficult process. And that's where we can step in and support. So as I mentioned, consistently, or as we've all heard throughout the day, we've got the national curriculum which is fully aligned with the CEFR. We understand it, our tutors understand it, we've been using it for many, many years. And that's where we can step in then and support and advise. And, as Cecily said earlier, it's very, very important that we get to where we need to go through discussing, and that discussion needs to be open, realistic, and within this framework with the CEFR, there's also flexibility, and I think that that's very important, that employers understand that we as a National Centre for Learning Welsh through our programmes, like the Work Welsh programmes as well, we can tailor things for the specific sectors that we're working with. And that's where our experience is at its best, to be honest, in the consultation work and the guidance and then the coaching, and that the teaching and use go hand in hand. And that's the aim every time. Employers will need confidence as well, won't they? There's a lot of talk about instilling confidence and do what you can and note that, but it's a bit of a change for employers as well to be noting something so clear as A1, C3 or whatever, isn't it? Is that going to need to be implemented over a period of time, do you think? Certainly, it's not something that's going to happen overnight. We are very, very lucky that we've got a huge experience in this over the years. We've worked with over 2,000 employers by now. We've established sectoral plans as well. And what's interesting is whether the researcher or the educator knows it or not, they're already following the CEFR course. If, for example, if they're studying the foundation course, they're already on A2. They might not know that, but that's what it is. And as soon as this becomes a framework which is set up by employers, I think that nervousness will kind of die down. People will understand, well, all this is a level, and I understand what my level is because I'm already studying a course. But even for those who are not already studying a course or aren't quite sure of their level, then we could step in, advise and help. We've got level checkers that students or learners can use. That's a great start. But we've also got a huge team of experienced tutors and providers all over Wales who really can have these conversations and can kind of alleviate any concerns or alleviate any of the concerns which make people nervous. What are those concerns then? You've talked about what you've done. What are the concerns then, Joseph? But, you could also tell us about the benefits which have come from this. Thank you. In terms of the bumps along the way from moving over to the CAFA, I would say was the understanding of managers of the differences between the levels of the CAFA framework. But in our organisation, at the point where managers are ready to start the recruitment process, they need to fill in a self-assessment of the level of Welsh skill needed for that role. So we ask managers to answer a series of questions under specific headings, namely reading, writing, speaking and listening. And we as a team then will assess the findings and will ensure that we select the correct level before advertising the role. What that means for us is that when we're ready to advertise, the skill level is correct. We know, okay, we're going to have a problem of recruiting people if the level is too high, especially if the role is technical or specialist in nature. Do we need to think, okay, does it make sense for us to advertise this role with an essential level and then a desirable level? And that could be a problem if the policy changes to mean that employers will only be able to advertise one level. That's going to create problems for many organisations, I would imagine. Thank you. Wow, the one thing that we heard there towards the end of Cecily's presentation was be careful, because if you do put B2 in Norway, for example, that is almost a huge part of society who would not be able to go for the role. And as Joseph just said, if we're going back then to desirable or essential, is there any nervousness around this, or do you feel there's enough flexibility in the code? It's a very interesting point, because sometimes there can be a tension between the different skills needed and which is prioritised. We're very lucky in Aberystwyth University that we've got Learn Welsh provision with an amazing team there. So what we've been doing a little just to try to ensure that flexibility is to set the level, but also a clause stating or willing to learn up to this level. That's where we're trying to transition to. So what we want in a way, as we've heard, is that it's not like no, you don't have that skill. So that's really interesting, isn't it? That you can say no, you can go further. Well, I think they feel like more achievable steps, that it doesn't feel like a jump from fluent or not fluent. So that can be a psychological thing as well, where I feel that these definitions are quite clear, but also we have to work with line managers, for example. If we're saying, yes, all willing to learn, what we've also got then is the number of hours that means, because managers have to be willing to release staff for that period of time, and that the individuals themselves are happy to commit, because it is a commitment. We've got a new strategy as a university, and language use is just as important as anything else. So that use of language between lessons is important, as well as the support from the team. So that's the flexibility we've tried to kind of intertwine. That's interesting, not just goodwill, but we need to take responsibility for this. Advice then, Laurie. People will have heard a lot that's new to them today, aware that this might be a path that they're about to go down for some months now. What advice could you give to employers? I think the main message is that the centre has a plan which is suitable for all individuals and every workforce. So our plans and programmes, our courses, they run from pre-A1, so totally basic things, refresher courses, taster courses, up to C2. But we also provide services and support for raising confidence for Welsh speakers, but people who might not use it for whatever reason. But we can also work with employers to plan for moving along this continuum, so that we can have these open conversations about what's most suitable, what's most appropriate. I've talked about the team of tutors that we collaborate with already, so the foundations are there. And once again, it's going back to the fact that we want this to be an open door. That's the purpose of all of our work, really, is to attract people and bring people into the Welsh language, to stick to this message about this is what you can already do. We can take you along the journey to go as far as you want to go. So it's a positive message, I would say. And I would really encourage people to contact us and to have a positive experience of the offer that's available. Thank you, Laurie. And very briefly, let's hear from the two employers. Advice, very, very briefly, what would you say to the listeners here today? One's got more experience than the other, so go on, what's the advice? How would you face this challenge? Quick question is, well, just don't be scared is the main thing. Look at it as an opportunity. We've come from different organisations, but a lot of us have recently implemented the Welsh Language Standards, which is 180 individual things that we've all had to implement and come through it. It is possible. We have done quite a lot of strategic work in terms of the Welsh Language Plan, which I talked about earlier. Cryfhau Cymru, strengthening Wales, is a huge part of that, so that's a really important thread in terms of implementing all of it as well. So it's more than just saying you have to do it. It's about looking at opportunities around us and saying, well, this is good for all of us. And we know that this opportunity is coming. It's just like any change. It's kind of about trying to scope it out and trying to see the opportunities and what's available and to promote the possibilities. Like it's just different to follow up with that response. But to add to Gwawr's point, I think it's vital in your organisations for you to speak openly with everyone and to communicate clearly what these changes will mean, how it might impact your colleagues, and that you start to raise awareness of the capital levels and that you can show how they compare with your current levels in the organisation and that people aren't frightened of this change. Great. Don't be scared. Where have we heard that before? By Dyfodol. Thank you very much. Let's thank all of our panel.